Hello everyone, welcome to the channel and I hope everyone is doing good. So in today's video we are going to look into a very simplified but very useful and practical data pipeline architecture. We'll be discussing about the data pipeline, the source being any of the database like Oracle or Postgres, and that data will flow through the AWS system, and we'll try to create or we'll try to design the data warehouse in Snowflake, because finally the data is going to land on Snowflake in different data layers. So we'll look into this process, how we think over it, how the problem statement comes to us, and how as an architect or a senior developer should think on this data pipeline. If you have not subscribed to my channel, then do subscribe to my channel. It will help you a lot in understanding multiple data engineering concepts and topics. Also, there is very good list of GenAI playlist. You can go through the topics. That will be also very helpful in generating or integrating your the GenAI pipeline in your data engineering workflow. If you are a senior developer in a data engineering field, or you are a just entry level architect in a data engineering, so you will get multiple requirements on data pipeline, a kind of migration project, data modernization project, in which there is a existing data set and the existing jobs already running on some of the RDBMS, and you need to move it into either AWS or into virtual warehouse like Snowflake. So nowadays, the client are using since last 2 3 years. The Snowflake has become very popular, and most of the client is using Snowflake as a final data landing zone. So in today's requirement, we will be getting the data in a JSON format, either from the Postgres or some any of the system. We'll be getting that source can be anything, but the problem statement is we are going to get a data in JSON format. We have to create a raw landing zone in AWS, and then we have to get that data into Snowflake and do some cleaning and create a data warehouse, being and creating a finally a gold layer in the Snowflake. So how we'll do that, how we'll approach that, we'll be looking into it. So first of all, whenever you create a data architecture or data pipeline architecture, there are three important things we have to focus. The first is the source from where data ingestion, data extraction or data ingestion will take place. The middle is the transformation, what all transformation is going to happen, if at all is going to happen. In my case, we are not going to transform the data in the AWS system, we'll see now. And finally, how we are putting the data in our final landing zone. In this whole process, multiple things will come, like orchestrating the job, how to set up the monitoring pipeline, how to set up the governance pipeline. Everything needs to be taken care. From an architect perspective, you have to think into multiple areas in this data pipeline. So we'll start with creating a source. Okay, so this being one of the source. Fine, it can be anything. I'll just write it here, source. The thing is, we are getting the JSON file from this source, and then that file is being extracted in AWS. So this is my AWS system, and then we'll have Snowflake here. So first of all, you need some data extraction pipeline. You can write the Spark program for that. Your company may have some internal framework which will have some Python code in that framework, or PySpark code, any Spark code, which will extract the data from this source and put it into AWS. So in AWS, where it will put into any of the AWS bucket. So we'll have S3 bucket here. So what I have done, I have extracted the data from this source. I'm assuming that I'm getting a as a file format as JSON file format, and I'm putting it into S3 bucket. So this S3 bucket will be the raw landing zone in the AWS area. Okay, and here you can do some filtration with the help of some program if it is required, but in my case I don't require to do any filtration. I want to keep it very simple. There will be another S3 bucket which I will call it as an archival. Like, you cannot keep all the data in a same S3 bucket. The reason being, you will be having multiple, just left me right, you will having a multiple jobs running which is getting the data, multiple JSON file for each jobs. So if you keep everything in a single bucket, then it will become very difficult to manage it. So as per your archival policy, like 7 week or 2 weeks, in every 2 weeks or 7 week, you will move this data into it. And also, this is the raw area in the AWS. So we have to move the data eventually into the Snowflake warehouse. So your everyday data will be moving into the Snowflake warehouse. So you will have the backup in archival. So it doesn't make any sense in keeping all the data into the same bucket. So these are the things we need to keep in mind, how to do the archival, why we will not keep it in a primary S3 bucket, what are the reasons for it. So these all things should be very clear in your mind, so that when you go into architecture discussion with the client, you can put your point properly. Now uh, I'm going to create one snowflake. Okay. So now this is going to be interesting. Now I have a JSON file. So how I'll put my JSON file in a Snowflake? So in a Snowflake, we can directly put the JSON file by creating a table and keeping the column type as variant column type. We'll not go into detail how to do that. I'm just letting you know how we can do that. And with the help of copy command, this is not a streaming pipeline use case. This is a normal batch jobs. So with the help of copy to command, you can move this data into the Snowflake. Which data I'm pointing? I'm pointing to this data. Okay, this data. And this data will go into this archival as per the policy. Now in the Snowflake, we have to design the warehouse. Now in the Snowflake, you have to keep first database, or you can tell it a schema. I'll create a different database for different data layer. So for the raw landing zone, or we can call it Snowflake raw landing zone, we'll keep a normal database, a single database. Let me get it from here. Any database. This is any database symbol. Let me see. Okay, I'll keep it as a cube here. I'm not getting it. So this is one of the database of the raw landing zone in Snowflake. So what will happen in this database? Your data from this S3 bucket will be put into this database, and the table in this database will have two column, or it can be have a third column as a timestamp. Okay, we will consider as a three column. The first will be the ID or the source name, and the batch name, and the second will be your variant column. The column will contain the exact JSON file as it is, and the third will be at which time that particular job has loaded it. This particular job has loaded it. So this becomes your, I'll write it here, raw landing zone. So this contains the database raw data. Okay. So now from this raw database, let me just get the database symbol, proper database symbol. Okay, this is good. I'll just remove this one. See, this is a rough architecture flow. In the real scenario, we don't keep it as a symbol. Any symbol we don't put it. Depending on the version, how we do it, it should be professionally created in a well fashion. So this is for the just for the explanation purpose. So raw database, we keep the JSON as it is. Then we have to create another layer, which we call it a silver layer, in which we'll parse the data. Uh, or we can create this raw as a normal zone, and then we can create three layer, one as a bronze, second as a silver, and third as a gold. I'll tell you why I'm keeping a raw separately here. First of all, if I have to get any day JSON file from a Snowflake system, then we can get it from the raw layer. So we'll get a direct JSON file here. Now the second thing is I am going to create the bronze layer here, which will contain the parts JSON. Means from here I'll write a job. Sorry, I'll write a job which will pull this JSON file, parse it with the SQL or with a Python, and create it in this bronze layer in a column format. Okay, so your data has got a little bit of cleaning can be done also here, and parsing. The bigger purpose is the parsing with the time frame. So I'll write it here, bronze layer. Now I have the raw layer in the Snowflake, which in which I have an exact JSON file. In bronze layer, I have the parsed JSON. just a simple filtration if required has been done here, or the cleaning process. Then we will have a silver layer where we'll keep the historical data. Now you have a data in the JSON file and you want to keep like your data gets updated. So you want to create a slowly changing dimension, version 1, version 2, any of this stuff. If you want to implement that, you will do while creating a silver layer. So your silver layer will have this detail. So you have to write the SQL, or generally in the Snowflake you will write a SQL, and accordingly you will move the data into silver layer. So now you want a historical data in by adding few more business scenarios, few more transformation that can we can have in a silver layer. Clear? We have a raw layer, we have a bronze layer, we have a silver layer. Now we'll create a gold layer on which the reporting tool will be working on. Okay, let me explain you. For example, you have a reporting dashboard which wants the data into some aggregation level, like per month data, per week data. So that data you can create that data in the reporting dashboard itself by reading from the silver layer data, but that will create the process as slow. So you will prepare the reporting layer data and put it into a gold layer, and the reporting tool will directly connect to the gold layer database and get the data. Okay, so you will create all the reporting data, means you want the aggregation, top 10, top 20, these kind of data. You will keep it in the gold layer. Fine. So we have a raw layer, we have a bronze layer, we have a silver layer, and we have a gold layer. So bronze layer contains the parsed JSON file data. Silver layer contains applying some dimension, slowly changing dimension, some of the filtration process, and gold contains the exact data which we need in a reporting layer. There is another concept of platinum layer. I'm not going to discuss this. If anyone knows what is the platinum layer, please post it in the comment. We can have a discussion there, but the scope of this video is not to cover the platinum layer. So this is a very simplified data flow from the source to AWS, archival, moving into the Snowflake with copy to command, this is batch command, raw JSON, parse JSON, process JSON with the help with the historical data plus some transformation, and then creating a reporting layer or the gold layer by aggregating or as per the business requirement. Now this is the data pipeline. To run the data from one source, one point to another point, you need a job. So you will be writing a program like Spark program here, or another Spark program here, multiple SQL which will be wrapped on, which will have a top up of Spark program, not Spark or Python program. So every job need to be scheduled. So you will create one layer, horizontal layer like this, which will show that you want to, for example, you want to have, can I write it here? Okay, not write it here. I can write it here. Airflow as a what do you call scheduling layer, scheduling purpose. Then you can have another thing called for the observability. You can have, like, if you want to have a data pipeline observability. I'm not going into detail of observability, but for as a overall architecture view, you have to add some information about the observability, how you're monitoring the job. If you have a custom monitoring tool, you can write it here. If you don't have, but if you have a third party tool like Splunk or Dynatrace, you can write it here. Then Datadog can be also used here. Then you can have, if a data governance thing is required, then you can add ADMC or Colibra as a data governance thing. So this makes almost complete data pipeline. There are multiple things more to be added, but this is fine with the entry level of architect. If you have any doubt in any of the point, you can post it in the comment. uh, okay, and this was a simplified problem statement. As per the problem statement gets complex, I'll try to include one use case in the next video, which will be from the streaming pipeline of the call record AWS Connect. You can search for the AWS Connect service. I'll try to create a pipeline which will get the data from AWS Connect and create a real-time analytics on top of it, and that is very going to be a bit complex and very interesting. But first try to understand this, post your comment, Do subscribe to our channel, like it, spread it to your colleague, to your friends. We'll meet in your next video. Till then, happy learning and goodbye.